Hello everyone, welcome to week number 1 in Biology 120 here at SNHU. We've got a brand new term headed into May here. We're almost in May. So welcome to our class. I'm Dr. Janie Sigmon. I'll be your instructor for this term. And please call on me if you need anything during the term. I will tell you this in every video that I make. I will include this in every email message that I send out. But I really do mean it. Please call on me if you need anything. All right, so let's get started in our course. So to start off with, you need to go and watch my introductory video. You need to read my bio so you find out who I am and why I'm teaching and what my life is like, which is absolutely crazy right now because I sold my house and I'm living in a Airbnb right now, but it is cute. So anyway, so take a look at all of that. Take a look at the introductory information about the course itself and how it's set up. And if you have any questions about this, if you're brand new to SNHU and you don't know how this stuff works, please just ask, because I was there too. So I completely understand, and I will help you find your way. All right, so this week you're going to need to read Chapter 1 in the textbook. And over there to the right, I have the textbook, OpenStax Biology 2nd edition. This is a free online textbook. Some people want to download it. I have downloaded it before. It took absolutely forever because there's so many pages to it. And did I find that helpful at all? Nope. Just use it online because you can search for anything. You can search for transcription. You can search for oncogene. You can search for ecology, big topics, small topics. And it will take you to every place in the textbook where you find this terminology. So I suggest that you just use it online because that is a wonderful resource and it's a very good textbook. Normally in a week, I will either tell you to read the chapter or skim the chapter, and I will make that distinction. I'm not sure, I think it's next week. I tell you to skim a chapter, and I'll explain what that is. But this week, read Chapter 1 because it gives you an introduction into the science of biology, which is the study of life. And so, we also have to figure out what life is. How are we going to define it? So we'll come to that in just a second. It also tells you in Learning Module 1, because that's how you know what we're doing in week 1. It tells you to watch a couple of videos on life, which is awesome, and read an article about the giant viruses that were discovered not too long ago, because that is part of one of your assignments. All right, then, well, what do you do? This week, you have discussion board posts that are due. Your initial post has some specific instructions about what you need to cover. Okay, so just click on it. It will tell you, give you the instructions right there. Your initial post is due by Thursday night before midnight, and that is true for any week that you have discussion board postings due. Thursday night's the deadline for your initial post answering the questions. In this one, introduce yourself, tell us your background, tell us where you live, tell us your degree program, tell us what you want to do when you grow up, right? Tell us interesting hobbies that you have or what you're interested in life. Are you an artist? Are you a gamer? Do you love nature and hiking and outdoors like I do? So tell us anything like that you want to so we get to know each other. This should cover 1 or 2 paragraphs. This is not one sentence, okay? Introduce yourself so we get to know you. Explain why the scientific method is important in biology and give an example of how you've used it in your everyday life. And I made one of these posts already, and I tell you how I have just the most terrible brown thumb. Here I am, a biologist, and I cannot grow houseplants worth a toot. Yeah. I'm much better at the ones outside, but not inside. Thank goodness I'm much better with animals, as evidenced by Richard, who is my cat, who's back there playing. So that's your initial post. Your 2 response posts also have instructions every week, so make sure you read those. This is not just, oh, thanks, Devin, for your post. It was so informative. No, that's not how we make connections with each other. It's a great compliment, but you got to continue on from there and give more explanation and include fresh new material that you're asked about in the instructions. You have 2 responses that are due to 2 student posts that are already there because remember you got that Thursday deadline. And these 2 response posts are due by Sunday evening before midnight. And in this one, in this particular week, include what you have in common with this person. You'll find out. If you're an environmental science major, you are going to have things in common with people in this course. If you're in the health sciences, there will be other people who have that major. But maybe it's where you live. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's the job that you have. Maybe it's an interest. You have things in common with other people, including me. So include that. And part of the instructions are share tips and resources for being successful in this course. Your posts need to be substantive. They need to have substance to them. So make sure that you do this. These response posts are also not just one sentence. Okay, so those are the discussion board posts for this week. Then you have another assignment. It's called a journal entry. And a journal entry is basically an essay, but there's a point to it. There's information that you need to convey to explain how you understand this particular topic. So this one is all about the definition of life. So how do we define life? What things are not living that you may think are living? How do you know the difference between a rock, maybe like a castle there, and some algae that are growing in the water there? Defining life. So there's a video for you to watch. It was one of those 2 that I've already mentioned. And you also need to read that article about the Pandora viruses, because a lot of people in this world think the viruses are living, and they absolutely are not. I mean, I'm a microbiologist. No, they're not considered living because they're basically little packets of genetic information. That's all they are. So think about it this way. Have you ever had a computer virus? Right? Ever had a computer virus? So what exactly is it? Is it this sneaky little virus that creeps into your house and gets on your computer and attacks it? No, it's just a bunch of code that comes into your computer and hijacks it, right? That's why they're called computer viruses, because that's exactly how viruses work. They're just little pieces of genetic information that get inside cells, hijack them, take them over, make the cell produce new viruses. That's how viruses work. So they do not meet the definition of life. What are the properties of life? Okay, there are all kinds of lists out there that biologists have made over time to define life. I use this one right here. Your textbook, I'm thinking maybe has one fewer and they combine some, but it doesn't matter. Some places you see 4 properties of life. Sometimes you see 8. Sometimes you see 9. It doesn't matter. But all of these subjects are actually included in the list. So let's look at them quickly. Order. There's always order to life. Every organism is made up of what? 1 or more cells. So the cell is the basic unit of life. And cells look alike, no matter what kind of organism it is you look at. Now, they can be quite different, but they still have the same basics. Sensitivity and response to stimuli. So when things happen to this organism, then the organism responds. You don't just sit there like a lump. And you'd think, well, a tree doesn't respond if you kick it. If you damage it, it will have a response. But it has all types of other responses to stimuli, like sunlight, like cold temperatures, like rain, right? So there are different responses. Reproduction, terribly important for life. If life is going to continue, you have to have reproduction. Adaptation. So adaptation is characteristics that you have in order to survive in a particular environment. That's an adaptation. Sometimes adaptations are behaviors, and sometimes they are just characteristics. Growth and development, so that's very important. We grow and change. Even a bacterial cell grows in size before it divides. Regulation and homeostasis, this is absolutely one of my favorite ones. So homeostasis is balance. Everything in life is balanced. Every cell in your body wants to be balanced in pH, in water levels, in particular molecules that are present, right? Balance. Every ecosystem wants to be balanced. The whole biosphere of the world wants to stay balanced. That's homeostasis. Energy processing, we all consume food if we are organisms, and that helps us produce energy molecules in the form of ATP in order to run all the biochemistry that we have in our cells. And then finally, evolution, which is a change in genes in a population over time. That is my definition of evolution. And this has to happen because populations of organisms have to change with changing environmental conditions. And that's what happens with evolution. Your genes change, and that means the population changes over time. So those are my properties of life, and you're going to discuss that. And now what we say as biologists is that every organism has to meet all of these properties of life. If there's one missing, then that thing is not considered to be alive. Okay? And that's where viruses get hung up because they can't do reproduction on their own. They just can't. They do absolutely no energy processing. They don't have any pathways to do that. They don't consume food. I'll give you an example of this. Back when I was in my lab at Clemson was when I was in graduate school. So I was there for 10 years. And the whole time that I was there, we had vials of just viruses sitting in water in refrigerators. And we mainly kept them in the refrigerators so that bacteria wouldn't get in and contaminate them. But the viruses sat there for that whole decade and even longer. They were there before I got there. They were there when I left. And the viruses were just sitting there, waiting to infect something. And if I took them out and put them into a culture with E. coli, for example, they would start right up. They would infect those bacteria and start reproducing inside those cells. But they could just stay in that state of nothingness until they came across a host. So it tells you that viruses are not living. All right. Some tips and hints. I give these every week, if I remember. Tips or hints about Bio 120. Watch my videos and the announcements every week. My announcement and my videos are posted by Monday morning at 12:01 a.m. That's when I have them set up to pop up. Please watch my videos because I give you hints. I tell you how to go about accomplishing what you need to accomplish in a week. I tell you what to focus on. And that's important so that you don't waste your time. If you have to read 3 chapters of very intense material, say, for example, on cellular respiration, but you only need a couple of paragraphs out of that, why can't I just give you an introduction to it so that you understand it, and then you go search for that particular information that you need? So watch my videos, read my announcements. Deadlines are important. Thursdays and Sundays, I already told you. The only thing that's due on Thursdays is your initial discussion board post. Everything else is due by Sunday before midnight. Follow the guidelines and rubrics for each assignment. So what the heck is that? Guidelines are the instructions. That's all that means. The instructions. What are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to do it? The rubric is the grading. How do I grade whatever it is that you turn in? And it gives you very specifics. If you cover everything excellently well, then you get the highest mark. If you cover the subject matter adequately, that's the next mark. And if you don't cover it at all, that's the lowest mark, which is going to be a 0. So the rubric is the way that I grade. Read the feedback that I give you. I always give feedback when I grade. So read the feedback to help you. And this is especially true with the parts of your final project that will be coming up. You will have a final project that will be due in week 7 that you have worked on throughout the entire term. Now, we don't do anything with this week, but next week you will be looking at your topics and deciding what you want to research. Label everything. Label every file. Man, did I have problems with that in this past term? People were turning in stuff for other courses. People were turning in the wrong versions of files. Yeah. So label, especially label your files so that you know what they are. So if this is milestone 2 in week 4, which is 4-2 assignment. No, that doesn't. Anyway, that's backwards. But anyway, label your file name that way, with your name, with the assignment, with the course, so that you know what everything is. Label every document that you turn in so that I know that you know which one it is that you turned in, right? When in doubt, when in trouble, when you have questions, feel free to contact me, m.sigmon@snhu.edu. My first name is Melody, and that's where the M comes from, but nobody on this planet has ever called me Melody, including my parents when I was a baby. So anyway, my first name is Janie, but there's my email address, m.sigmon@snhu.edu. All you have to do is email me on Sunday night this week, which is Monday morning. I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning answering email messages. Now, I don't guarantee that I'm going to do that every week and every day, but I've been known to do it. m.sigmon@snhu.edu. If you need anything, please feel free to let me know. I'm glad to help you. With that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful week number 1, and I can't wait to see what you're posting, especially in the discussion board postings, so that I get to know you. Have a great week.